Attention all employers and employees. I want to bring to your attention to a significant recent development in employment law. A decision by the Employment Court in a case of Stewart versus Aotearoa New Zealand Limited. This decision has far-reaching implications, particularly for employment agreements that include availability clauses for additional hours of work. It is important to note that all employment agreements must be in writing. In the past, if an employer failed to comply with a particular section of the Employment Relations Act, employees could seek a compliance order from the judiciary to ensure further compliance. However, acquiring compensation for such breaches was often challenging for the employees. This case centres around an employment agreement that guaranteed a specific number of full-time hours per week, with an additional clause requiring the employee to be available for extra work. Unfortunately, the agreement did not provide any provision for compensating the employee for their availability. According to the Employment Relations Act, employees required to be available for additional hours must be compensated for their readiness to work. In this specific case, the employer offered to pay the employee compensation during the term of the agreement, but the employee deemed the amount insufficient. Consequently, the employee filed a personal grievance action against the employer for not providing compensation as stipulated in the Employment Relations Act. The employer defended their position by explaining they'd made an offer to the employee which was rejected, and that they would never have forced the employee to work if he was ever unavailable for the additional hours. The Employment Court, however, ultimately ruled that if an employment agreement requires an employee to be available for additional hours, compensation must be paid. This decision marks a significant change, as it empowers employees to seek compensation using personal grievance processes when their employer fails to abide by legislation. What's particularly notable about this ruling is the judge's use of quantum merit to calculate compensation remedies for the employee. Quantum merit is a Latin term that means as much as one deserves, providing restitution to the employee for the employer's unjust enrichment for the wrongdoing. This decision holds considerable importance for employees whose agreements require them to be available for additional hours without any compensation. It also simplifies the process for employees seeking justice and fair compensation when their employers fail to adhere to employment laws. In light of this decision, it is critical for employers to review their employment agreements, particularly clauses relating to the availability of work for additional hours. Failure to provide compensation, regardless if the availability clause is utilised or not, could result in personal grievance claims and back pay liabilities. And for you employees out there who are paid by the hour and whose employment agreements include an availability clause, I encourage you to approach your employer and discuss a compensation payment, including a payment for back pay. It is essential to ensure that everyone within your organisation is fully informed about this employment decision. If you require guidance or clarification, please feel free to reach out to us at the Whitehead Group. We're here to help you.